The twin suns were slowly sinking behind the silver mountains. Their golden light stretched long shadows across the alien playground. Strange swings, shaped like spirals of crystal, swayed in the warm breeze. Alien children with bright green skin and eyes like glowing moons ran across the soft blue sand. Their laughter filled the air, but it was not the kind of laughter humans knew. It was sharper, almost like a song carried by the wind. They were happy. They were safe. Their world was the same every day, but today everything changed. The game stopped. Small feet froze on the sand. Tiny voices went silent. Every alien child turned at the same time. Their glowing eyes focused on one strange figure standing near the edge of the playground. It was a child, but not one of them. He was small, thin, and pale. His eyes were round, not glowing. His skin was soft, not scaled. His clothes were torn from travel and dust clung to his hair. He looked fragile, like he did not belong to this strong and shining world. The alien children whispered among themselves. Who is he? Why is he here? Is he dangerous? No one dared to move closer. They had seen humans before, but only from far away. Their parents had told them, do not speak to them. Do not touch them. They bring danger. But the human child did not move like danger. He stood quietly, holding something in his small hands. His face was serious, almost sad, but there was a soft kindness in his eyes. The alien stared at the object he carried. It was bright, colorful, wrapped in shiny paper that caught the last rays of the suns. They had never seen anything like it. The human slowly unwrapped the shiny paper. A sweet smell drifted into the air, soft and inviting. The alien children tilted their heads in confusion. What is that? Whispered one. It smells strange, said another. Maybe it's food, said a third. The human child placed the small round piece into his mouth. His face softened. His lips curved into a smile. He chewed slowly, his eyes closing with quiet joy. The alien children gasped. Food never made anyone smile like that. Their meals were gray cubes that filled the stomach but gave no pleasure. Food was survival, not happiness. But here was a child eating something that looked like a jewel and tasting something that made him happy. Curiosity grew. Fear wrestled with wonder. One brave alien child stepped forward closer than the rest. Her eyes were wide and her voice was small. What is that thing? She asked. The human looked at her. For a moment there was silence. Then he opened his hand. Inside was another piece of the shiny treasure. He held it out toward her. The aliens gasped again. Was this a trick? Was he trying to harm her? Their hearts pounded in their chests. But the human did not move quickly, did not force her. He only waited, his hand steady, his eyes gentle. The brave alien child looked back at her friends. They shook their heads. Some whispered warnings. Others said, don't do it. But curiosity burned stronger than fear. Slowly, carefully, she reached out. Her fingers touched the candy. She took it from his hand. It was small, light and smooth. She sniffed it. The smell made her dizzy. Sweet, soft, completely new. She hesitated, then placed it on her tongue. Her eyes widened. The taste exploded in her mouth. Sweetness, warmth, a joy she had never known. She gasped and covered her mouth. The feeling was overwhelming. For the first time in her life, she smiled while eating. Her friends leaned forward in shock. What happened? Is it good? Tell us. The brave alien laughed. Not the sharp alien laugh they all knew, but a sound deeper, happier, almost human. It's wonderful, she said. It tastes like light, like happiness. The playground filled with excited whispers. The human smiled again. Slowly, he took out more pieces of candy and showed them. The shiny wrappers caught the alien suns and sparkled like treasure. The children stepped closer now. Fear began to fade. Wonder took its place. But at the edge of the playground, hidden in the shadows, another figure was watching. Taller, stronger, an adult. His eyes narrowed as he saw the human giving strange food to the children. His voice was low, cold, and dangerous. This is forbidden, he whispered to himself. This will bring trouble. The sun sank lower. Darkness crept across the playground. The alien children stood close to the human now, their glowing eyes wide with hope. The human child smiled shyly, holding out more candy. None of them knew that this small moment, one piece of candy, one act of kindness would change everything. The alien world would never be the same again. The playground was silent. The alien children stood in a half-circle around the human boy, their glowing eyes fixed on the strange sweets in his hands. The brave alien girl who had already tasted the candy still smiled, her tongue pressing against her teeth as if she could hold the sweetness forever. Her friends looked at her in awe. She had not fallen sick. She had not fainted. She was still standing, still laughing. The candy had not poisoned her. Instead, it had given her something new, something wonderful. The human child, small and pale under the fading suns, glanced at the others. His face carried no fear, only hope. Slowly, carefully, he opened his palm again. Inside, 3 more bright candies glowed like tiny stars against the dull playground sand. A ripple of whispers moved through the alien children. Maybe it is safe. It made her happy. I want to try. Another child stepped forward, his skin a brighter shade of green, his voice trembling with both fear and excitement. He reached for the candy, his fingers shaking as they brushed against the human's small hand. The boy gave it freely, his eyes gentle. The alien sniffed it. The smell was sweet, like flowers blooming in a desert. He put it on his tongue, closed his eyes, and gasped. The flavor spread through him like fire and light. His body shivered and his voice broke into a sound the others had never heard from him before. Real laughter. It's like stars in my mouth, he shouted, his glowing eyes shining brighter than ever. The playground exploded with voices. Every child wanted one now. They crowded closer, their fear washed away by curiosity and longing. The human child did not push them back. He opened his other hand, showing more pieces. Not many, only a handful, but enough to share. He held them out, letting the aliens choose. One by one, they took the candies. One by one, they tasted sweetness, gasps, laughter, cries of surprise. Some clapped their hands together. Others spun in circles, overwhelmed by the joy racing through their bodies. They had never known food could do this. They had never known eating could make the heart feel light. And in the middle of the noise, the human boy smiled. He did not speak their language, but he understood their faces. He saw their happiness, and it warmed him. For the first time since arriving in this strange world, he did not feel so alone. The alien children surrounded him now, their glowing eyes wide with wonder. What is this called? One asked in a sharp musical voice. The boy hesitated. Then he spoke slowly, his accent heavy but his word clear. Candy. Candy. They repeated together, their voices soft with awe. The word was strange in their mouths, but it felt magical. They looked at the boy again, tilting their heads. A small alien boy with silver spots on his skin asked, "Why, give it to us?" The human paused. He glanced at the candies in his hand, then at the circle of curious faces around him. His voice was quiet but steady. Because friends share. The words were simple, but the meaning struck them like thunder. Friends, share. These were ideas their world had taught them in different ways, but never like this. Never with food, never with joy. The brave girl who had eaten first stepped closer. She pointed at the boy's chest, then at her own, and said, "Friend?" The others copied her, their voices rising one after another. "Friend? Friend? Friend?" The boy's eyes shone with tears. He nodded. "Friend." For a moment, the playground was filled with laughter, not just the sharp alien kind, but soft, human-like giggles mixed with alien songs. 2 worlds, 2 species, sharing one small miracle together. But in the distance, in the deepening shadows, danger watched. The tall figure of the alien adult was still there, hidden from the children's sight. His expression was dark, his jaw tight with anger. He whispered into a small device on his wrist. "The human child is giving them something. Unnatural. We must act soon." Back on the playground, the candies were almost gone. Only one piece remained in the boy's hand. He looked at it carefully, then at the circle of children. He could have eaten it himself. He could have saved it for later. But instead, he held it out. He broke the candy into tiny shards and placed one piece into each small hand that reached out to him. The aliens were stunned. He was giving away the last piece, not keeping it, not hiding it, sharing it. They looked at him with new eyes. Respect, admiration, love. One of them whispered, "Humans are not like they told us." The boy only smiled, though his eyes carried sadness. Perhaps he knew this moment could not last forever. Perhaps he knew that soon, others would come to take him away. But for now, on this alien playground under two suns, a group of children, alien and human, stood together in a circle of joy. And the taste of candy was no longer just sweetness. It was a secret. It was a bond. It was the first spark of something far greater than any of them could imagine. The suns had slipped behind the mountains. The playground was now bathed in soft blue light from the glowing crystals planted in the ground. Alien children and the human boy still stood together, their laughter echoing through the night air. But the candies were gone. Only shiny wrappers remained, scattered across the blue sand like fallen stars. The alien children picked them up, holding the wrappers carefully, as if they were treasures. They pressed them against their faces, smelling the sweetness that still lingered. To them, even the empty wrappers felt magical. One child whispered, "I want more." Another said, "I have never felt this way before." And the brave girl, who had eaten first, smiled and declared, "We must never forget this gift." The human boy sat on the sand, legs folded, watching them. He did not understand every word, but he understood their faces. He saw joy, wonder, and curiosity glowing brighter than the crystal lights around them. His small heart filled with warmth. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he belonged. He leaned forward and pointed at his chest. "Friend," he said softly. "Friend," the alien children repeated, touching their own chests. Then, one by one, they did something strange. Each child broke off a tiny piece of the gray food cubes they carried, the only food they had ever known, and placed it in front of the human boy. The boy blinked in surprise. The gray cubes smelled like stone, dull and heavy. He picked one up and bit it. His face twisted instantly. It was bitter, chalky, almost impossible to swallow. But he forced himself to smile. The aliens laughed. Their sharp musical voices rang through the playground. "He eats our food. He accepts our gift. He is truly our friend." The boy coughed quietly, but he still smiled. He understood what they had done. They were sharing just like he had shared. For them, it was the first time food had been given with kindness, not duty. The moment was small, but it was powerful. A bond was sealed. But while they laughed and shared, none of them noticed the tall shadow slipping away into the night. The adult alien who had watched everything was already on his way to deliver the news. "The human is dangerous. He changes the children. We must stop him." Back at the playground, the children gathered close to the boy. Their glowing eyes reflected hope. They began to talk quickly, their words overlapping like a rush of wind. "We must keep this secret. If the elders know, they will take him away. They will destroy the candy. They will forbid us from seeing him again." The brave girl looked at her friends, her voice firm. "We must protect him. We must protect the gift." The others nodded. A silent promise filled the air. One small alien boy tore a wrapper into tiny strips. He gave one piece to each child. "This will remind us," he said. "Even if the candy is gone, even if the human is taken, we will remember what we felt tonight." The children held the shiny strips in their hands. The wrappers glowed faintly under the twin moons, shimmering like little flames of hope. The human boy watched. He did not fully understand their words, but he understood their actions. He saw them clutch the wrappers close to their hearts. He saw the seriousness in their glowing eyes. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "Promise." The children looked at him and nodded. They did not know his language, but they felt the weight of his word. A promise. For a long time they sat together under the glowing crystals, speaking in whispers, laughing in small bursts, learning each other's faces, gestures, and sounds. Though they were from different worlds, though their voices and bodies were not the same, they had discovered something stronger than difference. They had discovered the joy of sharing. But as the night grew deeper, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the distance. The children froze, their glowing eyes flicking toward the shadows. The boy stiffened, clutching the last empty wrapper in his small hand. An older child whispered, "It is the guards." Fear spread like cold wind. If the guards found the human here, if they saw the wrappers, everything would end. Quickly, the brave girl grabbed the boy's hand. "Hide," she hissed. She pointed toward a cluster of tall crystal structures near the edge of the playground. The boy ran with her, his small feet kicking up sand. The other children scattered, stuffing wrappers into their clothes, hiding the evidence of the candy. The sound of footsteps grew louder. Dark armored figures appeared at the edge of the playground. Their glowing weapons hummed softly. Their eyes scanned the ground. "What happened here?" one guard growled. "Why are you still outside at this hour?" The children lowered their heads, silent. None of them spoke of the candy. None of them spoke of the human. The guards searched the playground, their sharp eyes scanning every corner. For a moment, the boy thought they would find him. He pressed himself against the crystal wall, holding his breath, clutching the shiny wrapper in his hand like it was a shield. But the guards did not see him. After a while, they barked orders for the children to return home. Slowly, carefully, the children obeyed. The human boy stayed hidden, his heart beating fast. Only when the playground was empty and the guards were gone did he dare to step out. The brave girl was waiting for him at the edge of the sand. She smiled softly and whispered one word again. "Friend?" He nodded. He smiled back, and though the night was heavy with danger, though the future was uncertain, the children and the boy knew one truth. The secret was now theirs to keep. The candy was gone, but the memory was alive, and the bond between them was stronger than fear. The next day, the twin suns rose bright and hot over the silver mountains. The alien city woke with its usual rhythm, machines humming, crystal towers glowing, guards patrolling the streets. Everything looked the same, but inside the hearts of the alien children, nothing was the same anymore. They carried the secret of the candy. They carried the memory of sweetness. At the playground, the children gathered again. Their glowing eyes searched for the small human boy. When he appeared from the shadows, their faces lit up. They ran to him, whispering excitedly, laughing softly, holding up the shiny strips of candy wrappers they had saved. The boy smiled, though he had no new candies to share. He only sat with them, pointing at things, teaching them little human words. They copied his sounds clumsily, and he tried to mimic their strange musical voices. It was a moment of peace, a moment of friendship, but peace never lasts. Suddenly, heavy footsteps thundered against the sand. The children froze. 3 tall alien adults stormed into the playground. Their armor gleamed and their weapons buzzed with sharp energy. The leader's eyes burned as he looked at the wrappers in the children's hands. He snatched one, sniffed it, and scowled. "What is this?" he demanded. The children said nothing. They stood close together, their glowing eyes defiant but frightened. The leader's voice rose, harsh and angry. "This is not our food. This is human corruption. Who gave you this?" The silence grew heavy. The children's hearts pounded. If they told the truth, the human boy would be taken. If they lied, the guards might punish them. The brave girl stepped forward. Her voice shook, but she forced the words out. "We had found it." The leader narrowed his eyes. "You lie." He turned to the smallest child and barked, "I speak." The little one trembled. Tears shone in his glowing eyes. But before he could answer, the human boy stepped out from behind the crystal structure. The children gasped. "No," they whispered. The boy's face was calm, though his small hands shook. He looked at the angry adults and then at the wrappers. Slowly, he raised his hand and pointed at himself. "I," he said softly. The playground fell silent. The adults' faces twisted with fury. "You dare to feed our young with your poison?" The leader shouted. "Do you seek to weaken them? To change them?" The boy did not answer. He only lowered his head. One of the guards snatched a wrapper from a child's hand and tore it to pieces. The children cried out, reaching for it, but the pieces fluttered to the ground like broken wings. "You will never eat this again," the leader barked. "Do you understand? Never." The alien children's voices rose together in protest. "It is not poison. It makes us happy. It is better than cubes." The leader silenced them with a roar. "Enough, food is not for joy. Food is for survival. You will not be infected by human foolishness." The human boy's chest tightened. He wanted to speak, to defend the candy, to tell them it was only sweetness, not danger. But his words were useless here. His voice was too small. The guards moved toward him. Their hands reached out to grab his arms. "No!" shouted the brave girl. She ran forward, standing between the boy and the guards. "He is our friend." The others followed, forming a circle around the human. Dozens of small glowing eyes stared up at the tall adults, filled with courage and defiance. The leader growled, "Step aside," but none of the children moved. For a long moment, silence hung heavy in the playground. The only sound was the humming of the guards' weapons. Finally, the leader lowered his arm. His voice was sharp, cutting. "Fine, keep your human friend. But if we see this, candy again, if we hear of this forbidden sweetness, punishment will come. Do you understand?" The children nodded slowly, though their hearts burned with anger. The guards turned and left, their heavy footsteps fading into the distance. As soon as they were gone, the circle of children broke and they rushed to the human boy. Tears ran down some of their faces. Others shook with fear. The boy looked at them, then at his empty hands. He had no more candy. He had nothing left to give. But he reached into his pocket and pulled out a single crumpled wrapper. Gasps filled the air. He held it out, his hand trembling. The children leaned closer. The wrapper was torn, but inside it was the smallest fragment of red candy, no bigger than a grain of sand. The children's glowing eyes widened. The boy looked at the fragment, then at his friends. Slowly, carefully, he broke it into even smaller pieces with his fingernail. His hands shook, but he managed. He placed each tiny piece into waiting hands. It was not enough for taste. It was barely enough to feel on the tongue, but it was enough to remind them, enough to spark memory, enough to keep the promise. The brave girl closed her eyes, pressing the fragment to her lips. "They will not take this from us," she whispered. The others nodded fiercely. The boy looked at them, his small face serious. His voice was quiet but strong. Bring more." The words hung in the air, filled with hope and danger. The children clutched their fragments of candy as if they were jewels. They knew now that the candy was more than food. It was forbidden. It was dangerous, but that made it even more precious. The city was quiet. The twin moons hung low in the dark sky, painting the silver towers in pale light. The streets were empty except for patrolling guards whose glowing weapons cut through the shadows. Most families slept inside their crystal homes, safe and unaware. But in the silence, small figures slipped out of their doors one by one. Alien children moved through the alleys, their glowing eyes dimmed with care. They carried no toys, no food cubes, only shiny candy wrappers hidden close to their hearts. They were going to meet him. The brave girl led them. Her steps were sure, her face serious. She whispered in a sharp, low voice, "Stay close, no sound. If they see us, we will lose everything." The children nodded. Their hearts beat fast. They knew the danger. The elders had forbidden the candy. The guards had warned them. But their promise was stronger than fear. At the edge of the city, they slipped into the old path leading toward the playground. The sand was cold under their feet. The crystal swings shone faintly in the moonlight. And there, waiting in the shadows, was the human boy. He was sitting with his knees pulled to his chest, his small figure almost lost against the crystal wall. When he saw them, his face lit up with relief. He stood quickly, brushing sand from his torn clothes. "You came," he whispered, his voice soft but full of joy. The children rushed to him, surrounding him in a circle. They smiled, whispered greetings, touched his arms and hands as if to be sure he was real. The boy reached into his pocket. For a moment, their glowing eyes widened in hope, but he pulled out only one last piece of candy, wrapped tightly in shiny red paper. Gasps filled the air. The brave girl's voice shook. "Only one?" The boy nodded sadly. His eyes lowered, ashamed. But then he smiled faintly and began to unwrap it. The sweet smell spread through the night air, making the children shiver. He looked at them all, then broke the candy into as many small pieces as his fingers could manage. The pieces were tiny, smaller than raindrops, but he placed one into every waiting hand. The children stared at the little shards. They were so small they might vanish with one breath of wind. But when they put them on their tongues, even that tiny taste was enough. Sweetness, memory, joy. Tears shone in their glowing eyes. They laughed softly, covering their mouths to stay quiet. For them, the taste was more than sugar, it was freedom. One child whispered, "Even a crumb is better than a cube." Another said, "It is like a dream." The boy listened. He could not understand every word, but he felt the truth in their voices. He smiled, though his heart ached. He wanted to give them more, but he had nothing left. The brave girl touched his hand. "You promised. You will bring more?" The boy nodded. "Yes, I will." Her glowing eyes searched his face as if to measure the weight of his word. Then she smiled. "We believe you." For a moment, the children sat together in peace. They shared stories in broken words and gestures. The boy tried to copy their alien laugh, making them giggle. They taught him how to whistle through the crystal reeds near the playground, and he showed them how to stack stones in human patterns. It felt like a small family, but danger never sleeps. A sudden sound shattered the quiet, the sharp wail of an alarm. The children froze. The boy's eyes widened in fear. Red lights flashed on the distant towers. Heavy footsteps thundered on the main road. The guards were coming. They know, one child gasped. They followed us, another cried. The brave girl's voice was firm. Protect him. At once the children formed a tight circle around the boy. Their small glowing bodies pressed close, shielding him with courage far bigger than their size. The sound of boots grew louder. The humming of weapons cut through the night. The guards were near. The boy's chest rose and fell quickly. His voice was low, trembling. If they take me, I will come back. I promise. The brave girl grabbed his hand. We will wait. The circle held strong, but the shadows grew darker as the guards entered the playground. Their tall figures loomed, their glowing eyes scanning the scene. There, one guard shouted. The human. The children tightened their circle. They raised their hands, their small voices shouting together. No, he is our friend. The guards stepped closer, their weapons buzzing. Move aside. But the children did not move. Their glowing eyes burned with defiance. The boy looked at them, his friends, his protectors. His heart ached with both pride and fear. He knew they could not fight the guards. He knew this moment was the end of their secret. Slowly, he stepped out from the circle. The children cried out, No. He smiled at them, though his eyes were wet. Friend, he whispered. Always. The guards grabbed his arms, pulling him away. The children shouted, struggled, tears streaming down their glowing faces. But the guards were too strong. As they dragged the boy into the shadows, his voice rose one last time. I will bring more. I will come back. The children stood frozen in the playground, their hands clutching the tiny candy shards, their hearts burning with both sorrow and hope. And under the twin moons, the secret became more than just a memory. It became a promise. The guards dragged the human boy across the blue sand. His small feet stumbled, his hands pulled hard by the iron grip of armored fists. The night was filled with the buzz of weapons and the heavy sound of boots. Behind them, the alien children shouted, their glowing eyes filled with fire. Let him go. He is not dangerous. He is our friend. But the guards did not listen. To them, the boy was trouble, a seed of corruption. He had given the children something forbidden, something that could change them forever. The brave girl ran forward, her voice breaking. Stop, please. She grabbed at the guard's leg, but he kicked her aside. She fell to the sand, tears burning in her eyes. Still, she stood again. The other children followed, their small bodies surrounding the guards. They held no weapons, only their courage. The guards snarled. Move aside. This human is not for you. But the children would not move. They formed a circle, glowing eyes shining like moons, blocking the path. Their small voices rose together. He stays with us. The guards raised their weapons. The humming grew louder, sparks of light dancing along the blades. For a moment, it seemed the children would be cut down. The boy saw this. His chest tightened. Fear for his friends was stronger than fear for himself. He pulled against the guard's grip, shouting in a trembling voice, Stop! Don't hurt them! The guard sneered. Then come quietly. The boy's eyes darted to his friends. Their faces were fierce, but their small bodies trembled. They could not fight. They could only stand. Then something inside the boy burned brighter than fear. With sudden strength, he twisted free from one guard's grip and slipped between the circle of children. He stumbled but kept running, pulling his friends with him. Run, he cried. Chaos exploded. The guards shouted, chasing them across the sand. The children scattered, leading the adults into the maze of glowing crystal towers. The brave girl ran beside the boy, her hand clutching his tightly. This way, she shouted, guiding him through narrow paths. The other children followed, splitting into smaller groups, confusing the guards with their glowing trails. The night turned into a wild chase. Boots pounded, voices roared, weapons crackled. But the children were faster, lighter, and they knew the playground better than any soldier. At last, the boy and the brave girl ducked into a hollow space beneath a great crystal pillar. The others squeezed in after them, their breath sharp and quick. The guards' footsteps thundered past, their shouts echoing in the distance. For now, the children were safe. In the dark hollow, the boy's chest heaved. He looked at his friends, sweaty, scared, but still smiling. He saw the way they held each other's hands, the way they whispered, "He's safe. He's with us." His throat tightened. He wanted to speak, to tell them everything in his heart, but he only had simple words. "I promise," he whispered. "I will come back with more." With candy. The children's glowing eyes widened. The brave girl touched his shoulder, her voice firm though soft. "We believe you." "We will wait," the others echoed her. "We will wait," the boy nodded. His small fists clenched. He meant it. No matter how far he had to travel, no matter what dangers lay ahead, he would return. But outside the hollow, danger was not gone. The guards searched the streets, their voices rising. "Find him. Do not let the human escape." The children huddled closer, their bodies shielding the boy. For the first time, he felt not just like a guest or an outsider. He felt like part of them. The brave girl leaned close and whispered, "Even if they take you, we will remember. The candy, the sweetness, it will not die." Her words pierced his heart. He wanted to cry, but instead he smiled even through his fear. For a long moment, the children stayed hidden. They listened to the guards' shouts grow fainter. They dared to hope the danger had passed, but fate was cruel. A sharp light burst into the hollow, blinding them. A guard's voice thundered, "Here! They are here!" The children screamed. The guards stormed in, pulling the boy away again. This time their grip was iron, unbreakable. The children fought, kicking, biting, shouting, but the guards shoved them back. The boy reached out, his hand stretching toward his friends. "Friend," he cried, "always friend." The brave girl ran forward, but the guard blocked her path. She fell to her knees, sobbing, her glowing eyes blazing with helpless fury. The boy's voice rose one last time as he was dragged away into the shadows. "I will come back. I promise." The children's cries echoed across the playground. Their small hands clutched the empty wrappers, their hearts burning with grief. But inside that grief, a fire lived. The candy was gone. The human was gone, but the memory remained. The sweetness, the sharing, the promise, these could not be taken. The brave girl wiped her tears. Her voice was quiet but unshaken. "They cannot stop us. They cannot stop what he gave us." And the others, still trembling, still hurting, nodded. The human was gone, but the promise was alive. Many seasons passed. The twin suns rose and fell. The silver mountains cast their long shadows, and the alien city lived on as it always had. But for the children who once tasted sweetness, life was never the same again. They grew taller, stronger, their glowing eyes brighter with age. But in their hearts they still carried the memory of one small boy, a human child who had changed everything with a single gift. The elders thought time would erase it. They believed the children would forget the forbidden sweetness and return to gray cubes in silent obedience. But they were wrong. The children had made a promise, and they never forgot. The memory of sweetness. When they were young, they hid the candy wrappers under their pillows, touching them before sleep. When they were older, they carried them like charms, worn soft but never thrown away. At secret gatherings, away from adult eyes, they whispered about that night. They spoke of the boy's smile, the laughter they shared, the way food could taste like joy. To the elders, it was nonsense. To them, food was survival. To these children, food had become a symbol of something greater. It had become a symbol of freedom. The first rebellion, as the children grew into young adults, their quiet whispers grew into questions. Why must we eat only cubes? Why must we obey rules that give us no joy? Why do they fear the human gift? The elders had no answers, only warnings. Do not ask. Do not remember. But the young ones remembered anyway. And the more the elders forbade it, the stronger the memory became. The brave girl, now grown into a strong young leader, still carried her piece of shiny wrapper. She would hold it high before her friends and say, "This is proof. This is hope. He promised he would return." And though seasons had passed, they believed her. The shadow of return one quiet night, when the moons hung low and the air was heavy with silence, the grown children gathered at the old playground. The crystal swings still swayed in the wind. The blue sand still glittered. But it was no longer a place of play. It was a place of memory. They sat together, their glowing eyes watching the stars. "He is gone forever," one said sadly. No, the brave girl answered. Her voice was steady, though her heart ached. He will come back. He promised. The others nodded. They wanted to believe. They needed to believe, and then on the horizon a sound broke the silence, a low hum, a soft light. The ground trembled as a small ship descended, glowing engines cutting through the night. Dust rose, the playground crystals flickered, and every heart stopped. The young aliens stood, their glowing eyes wide with shock. The ship landed gently on the blue sand. Its doors hissed open. For a moment, nothing moved. Then a figure stepped out. The return, he was taller now, but his eyes were the same. Human eyes, round and soft, filled with warmth. His clothes were patched, his hair untidy, but in his hands he carried a bag that sparkled under the moons. It was the boy. The human child, now older. The brave girl's breath caught in her throat. Her glowing eyes filled with tears. He kept his promise, she whispered. The others whispered too, their voices trembling. He came back. He came back, the boy smiled. Slowly he opened the bag. Bright wrappers shone like jewels inside. He reached in and pulled out handfuls of colorful candy, more than they had ever seen. Gasps filled the air. He held them out with both hands. His voice was steady, carrying across the playground. I promised. I bring more. The legend begins. The aliens rushed forward, laughter bursting from their throats. They took the candies, unwrapped them with shaking fingers, tasted sweetness once again. Tears rolled down their glowing cheeks. The joy returned, brighter and stronger than before. The brave girl stepped closer, holding her old wrapper in one hand and the new candy in the other. She looked at the human boy, her voice breaking. You gave us more than sweetness. You gave us freedom. The boy nodded, though words failed him. He only whispered one word. Friends. The playground echoed with voices as they repeated it louder and louder. Friends. 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 The sound rose into the night sky, carried by the twin moons reaching beyond the silver mountains. And from that night, the story was no longer just memory. It became legend, the legend of the candy generations later. The tale was still told. Parents warned their children about the dangers of humans, but secretly, those same children whispered the story of the boy who had given them joy. They called him the friend. They called his gift the sweetness, and though the elders tried to erase it, the legend lived on. Every child knew the story. How one human child shared his candy, how the alien children never forgot, and how a promise kept under the twin moons became stronger than fear. For them, candy was no longer just food. It was hope. It was freedom. It was the taste of friendship that could never be forbidden again. And somewhere in the stars, the legend waited to grow even bigger. Because once a story begins, it never truly ends.